Hello guys, it's me Butterfly Spirit 314. So guys, what I titled this video is what I learned about men being providers. So recently I started reading a new book. If you guys have been following me on my channel, you know I read a lot of books. And the book that I'm almost finished with reading is The Psychology of Money. I was getting myself some food, and there was this guy. He's like, "Hey, do you have The Psychology of Money?" And I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Oh, I have that book. I intend on reading it." I was like, "Oh, okay." And at the time that the guy was talking about that, I didn't really kind of put two and two together about, men thinking about money. And I'm just like, well, it didn't really click or anything. And it didn't really click to me about money in that aspect. Also, there was the instances, well, my dad, where, my dad would be so focused on always being focused on making money, even if he wasn't working a particular kind of job, he would always be working on like some sort of business or something to generate money, and he was just always just like that with that mindset about, money and making money and stuff, And it also, I didn't, really realize this until, just a few minutes ago, but my former boyfriend, you know, it dawned on me that he also thought about money too, especially like in his own way. Maybe not in the same way as my dad did, but my former boyfriend, he had thoughts about money as well. And I started reading this book. There's a new book I'm reading here. And this one, it's called Money, a Memoir. And I'm sorry, it's called Money, a Memoir, Women, Emotions, and Cash. So, um, in this book, and the reason I'm reading this book now after The Psychology of Money is because I wanted to learn more. And like I said, I'm almost finished with this book. This book kind of, gave me a idea about money and ways of thinking about um, what wealth truly is, you know, thinking about greed, happiness, risk, really thinking about how people invest, um, thinking about it was about, lessons that people have learned about money, how people can go from having, so much money to all of a sudden they have nothing, and how, it can be more important to own something rather than say, renting something, like how people may find themselves, how people like when it comes to buying a car, people will go and some people will buy a brand new car and they'll have a car payment every month, right? And then you have some people like myself, when it comes to buying a car, I'll go more so towards buying a car outright because at least then I own my house. Sorry, not house. I'll own, I'll own my car. It will be interesting to own a house. Not saying I wouldn't do it, but it will be interesting. It would be cool. Now, owning a house, man, that would be. I'm gonna have to look into that. I'm gonna look into that. I don't know why I said that. Anyway, and I think the reason my mind got jogged into that is because the author of the book in The Psychology of Money, he was talking about how rather than doing what most people do, he actually him and his wife, they actually own their own house rather than and pay for it outright rather than having a mortgage payment every month, which was so different to everybody, and that around him and stuff, but they have peace of mind in it. And there's just so many cool things that I've learned about in terms of money from this book, The Psychology of Money. And a lot of people read this book to really start to try to understand money. And I'm going to go back here to what I was talking about men being providers. So, what I am going to say here is that in this book, in the Money and Memoir by Liz Pearley, in this book, I kind of randomly picked up this book here. And I picked this book up because I wanted to know more about money because I'm like, man, I'm almost done with the psychology of money, but I want to learn more. And I kind of took a risk on it. It was like $11.49. I'm like, is this really worth me even buying this book? So, when I first read the first page when I was at the store, I was like, is this really something I need to be picking up? I mean, a book about women and money. I know I got to manage my own finances. What in the world could this book tell me about money? And surprisingly, right now I'm on page 38 of the book. And let's see what chapter I'm on. I'm in chapter 1. So in this book, the author is actually talking about women's experiences with money. And now, how do we get to the part about men being providers? Well, in chapter 1, which is called Secrets and Lies, in this part of the book, it talks about the author talked about at the beginning of the chapter. She talks about how like her grandmother's view on money, okay, and what she learned from her grandmother because her mother had passed away, and so her grandmother was left raising her. And so she talked about some of the things that her grandmother taught her about money. And she starts talking about in here about the differences of how about men and women with money, like how men and women are raised in terms of money, right? So she was talking about how her cousins, her male cousins, they were raised with the mindset that they have to get out there and they're going to have to get out there and earn a living because nobody's going to take care of them. She heard I think it was her uncle saying, well, the girls, they can just get married and they'll be taken care of. But for you boys, you're going to have to get out there and earn a living and stuff like that, because nobody's going to save you. You're going to have to swim financially. Like, you're going to have to get out there and do it, right? You're going to have to, make money to survive. And the author was talking about like how she wishes that she would have been given that talk about money, because for women with money, it's different because for many of us, we're told that, our fallback is all we have to do is go out there and get married and then we'll have somebody to take care of us. And what we should focus on is basically just focus on, beauty, being beautiful, focus on being pleasant, nurturing and things like that. Focus on those things. That's what she was raised with, right? And I can attest in my own family that marriage was something that was emphasized. So when my mom was talking about how she was raised, my mom and her sisters, they were raised with the understanding that they were going to be wives. So they learned how to do things like they learned how to sew, how to cook, how to clean, how to bake, how to barbecue. Did just things like, to be a good wife. Now, barbecue, you might be like, whoa, but yeah, it's food, right? So they were raised with the wife skills, knowing how to mend stuff, knowing how to clean stuff, with the understanding they were going to have kids, and with the understanding that they needed to be married. That's what they needed to do. And on both sides of my family, that's something that was emphasized, was marriage. And so I could understand the author here. So when it comes to the men as providers, like what the author is saying, so she was talking about how her male cousins were told that they're going to have to get out there and sink or swim when it comes to the finances. And men, are raised with this understanding about competition. They're going to have to get out there and compete with other men in order to make money. Men are going to have to, there is drilled into them that, like I said, nobody's going to save them. Nobody's going to take care of them. And I learned in the book that a man sees his self-worth through how much money he actually makes. And if a man doesn't have a certain amount of money, he may find himself feeling less than because he doesn't have the money, because for men, money is power. It could be something that allows a man to show people he's made it. It's something that he can, say, well, I'm a, you know, I'm a, powerful man. I have this money, I have this career, I have this powerful standing, amongst other men. And I really didn't put two and two together about how, like, even at work, and this is something the author was talking about, how in the workplace, a lot of times the workplaces tend to be about competition, tend to be about how much money, about, there being people being competitive and aggressive, and it being about, about the control and power and stuff like that. Because in the workplace, it's of course a place where it was created as a place for a lot of men. Now, some women may say, well, what if it's a women only place or something like that? Most places, financially, will be mostly, have those mindsets of men with competition and power, and you know, and those things about, things that matter to men. Sometimes they maybe talk of politics and things like that, and men do compete against each other. They really do, and they do talk about how much money they have. Now, sometimes men are going to talk about, women, of course. They may talk about this and that, with women and who they've been with and all that, or they talk about their possessions of things they have. I have this house, or I have this car, or whatever, because for them, it is, you know, it's important for them to be able to show that they've made it, to show people. And this is something that men talk about. Now, when I was growing up, my mom told me that, men will lie about things. They'll make things more, they'll lie about things to make themselves seem more powerful and more important than they are, because it's that competition aspect. They don't want to be looked down on as lesser than. And for a man, it could be something where they can really feel bad if they're not able to provide, if they're not able to make, the appropriate amount of money they need to make. I remember my former boyfriend, he talked about how, he wanted to make, more money than his dad did. He talked about, he said, he wanted to make at least like $40 an hour or more than that, and I was like, well, why, and I didn't think by the time, I'm like, why is he talking about making more than his dad did? And then there's that aspect of, like, competition. And I think it's more like, him wanting to be, the man said that he wants people to see that he's made it, that he can, he can provide, he can be looked up to and lead, and for people to listen to him. And I think for him financially, that's the thing that's important is, he wants to be able to be valued amongst people, and that value is stemming from, his bank account. What does he have? And, you know, maybe even career wise too, that, he's going after more so the career, and things. And a lot of men are, want to have, a lot of men want to be, they don't want to be looked down upon, they want to be, looked up to. And now women, I will say they do. Women look at things with money, but I think for us as women, primarily, we're taught that we really don't have to think about money very much. What'll save us is our beauty, and what will save us is a man can save us because, we don't, growing up, we're put in that role, how little girls play with dolls, like, okay, you're gonna have to take care of a family one day, you're gonna have to focus on, making yourself look as beautiful as possible and everything, and you have to be sweet and be nice and, be agreeable and stuff. And for women, we're taught about like cultivating relationships and stuff like that. That's what we're raised with. We're taught to be pleasant. We're taught to be good girls. We're taught to be these very much different things, but we're not taught about money. When I was growing up, I came basically from a low income family, so money was something that, um, even though we were low income, I don't remember ever hearing, my mom or aunts or grandmothers talk about money. I never heard that. But I did, however, pick up on, the men, talking about money. They're talking about, for men, it's about them working, and they're talking about what they've accomplished. I did this or I did that, and when I say I did this and I did that, they're talking about things like, I have, this kind of job with this kind of money. Or like my dad would talk about how, my dad would work in contracting, so he'd work on houses and stuff like that. So, he would talk about the projects that he's worked on, things he's built. Or I'd also hear talk about, cars, and stuff. Men are talking, and, when I'm growing up, they're talking about, things in relation to, how they or what they are accomplishing. And I think we don't really talk too much about like our accomplishments or something like that in a way that men are talking about that, you know. And I kind of, as a girl, I kind of picked up on that there was a difference. There are differences between, us girls versus boys, and there definitely was that difference. And I do believe there's a pressure for men to be providers. I do believe that. And I think it could be hard, for a man, like if he's not able to, realize things financially, if he's trying as much as he can and he's trying to get this certain job and he's trying to do this and he's trying to do that and things are not turning out the way he wants, and I can kind of see that there's that pressure. For us as women, we may not really have that pressure as much because of how we're raised, and again, everybody's family can be different, as to how they are. But um, I can understand with this author in Money, a Memoir, this book, how basically women, for us, you know, money may not be something we think about. I mean, we may think about money in terms of, what we want to buy, you know, but we may not be thinking about money in the same way as how a man is thinking about money, and there's a lot of pressure, can be a lot of pressure on a man too, to be a provider, to make sure that he can afford, he can pay for not only for the bills and the rent and everything for a place for himself, but also to cover expenses for not only himself but him and his wife, and if he has children or something like that. And there could be a lot of pressure for men. And, men will, have to go out and get these jobs and try to hold down things, even in line with uncertainty. Now, I will say women do hold down jobs. They do hold down things financially. Not saying women don't do that, but the degree to the pressure that men have, women don't really have that kind of pressure. We don't really have that in that capacity from starting off when we're little girls and growing up. We don't have that. We don't get those talks about, you're going to have to do this. You're going to have to get out there and you're going to have to provide. You're going to have to, if you don't make money, you're not a man. These are things that men probably hear when they're growing up, and we don't hear those types of things growing up, and across many different cultures and stuff, men, they hear, hey, they're going to have to provide. And there's that pressure. And not only are that pressure is being held up by other men, and also, men, there's competition. So men are probably competing against other men to probably secure a wife, for example. They may be trying to get with the prettiest woman and stuff like that. And in order to get her, they may have to compete against other men out there. And, in order to get her, they have to tell her, well, hey, I have, I have this great job. I have this car, this house. I have this ability to provide for you for a long time. I have all this for you, and in comparison to other men, if he really wants her, he has to convince her. And through the things he has, through wealth, he may be able to convince her, and that is, he may be able to convince her to get married if and only if she hasn't found another man that has more than that, So there's the competition, and women kind of maybe adding to that, in a way. So, I'm just learning a lot about money, and my mindset about money is really changing. And I never really thought about, when I think back on the relationship between me and my former boyfriend, I never really think much about how money, can be viewed differently. And, I'm looking forward to, of course, finishing the psychology of money. Okay. So I'm looking forward to finishing this. I'll probably be done with this in about like maybe a week. Because I'm on literally the last chapter. And I'm looking forward to digging deeper into this book. Because I want to, oh, somebody gave me a like, thank you. I'm looking forward to digging in deeper into this book because I got to tell you, my mindset about money, like when I look back on how I viewed money when I was in a relationship versus like how I view it now with the knowledge and stuff and everything, it's like, it's so different. It's like my mind is expanding and opening up with just like everything I'm learning. And I guess I didn't think about how men are driven towards providing in money. I didn't really think about that. But it's funny that with this book right here, it's so funny with this book how a lady's talking about how like women and their emotions and money and different things, and how she's getting into like men and their thought processes about money and stuff like that. Like, it's interesting to me. And it makes me think more about my relationship with money, because there's some things with money, like I still have anxiety about when it comes to money, especially things like I had to deal with a leak, a toilet leak on 2 occasions where it ran up my, where it ran up water bill. So I have anxieties about things with money. And I'm like, I think like through like this book and more knowledge about money, like I'm starting to, like, the author is talking about how like, we think about money in terms of like, some people are afraid to delve into their relationship with money, um, with how like money is not just money, it's the things that you want to do, it's the things you want to have, it's the things you want to amass, And there's things that money can do, and there's things it can't do. And like I'm telling you, like I'm just like my mind's just blown with how like I really didn't growing up, I really didn't have much of an understanding about the things that I'm learning now. And I think by the time I make it through this book, um, I feel like I'm going to like so this book was kind of the foundation, right? This one was to open me up to the psychology of money. And with on a grander scale, like about the economy, investing, everything, right? But I think this one right here, I think by the time I get finished with this one, I really think I'm gonna have a better understanding on a deeper level about like I'm gonna have the answer to a question that I had with the psychology of money about my mindset about money. And I think I'm gonna come away with it and be able to kind of look at myself, the self I was um, in the past with money, and think about it in a different way. That's what I'll say right now. But it's coming. It's I kind of feel it that by the time I finish this other book, I think my understanding about money is going to be far that of beyond than what many women in my family have ever looked at money like. And I think I'm excited because at first I was like, wow, the hell would I get this book? But this author, boy, she started going deep into it. I was like, what? I'm like, damn. You know, it's like when you get down into something, you get down into learning about something, and it's like an onion. It's like peeling back the layers or something like that. And you get deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper into like something deeper that you learn and stuff. And it's interesting. So it's it's it. But at the beginning of the video, I kind of got into like other stuff. But somehow I got a feeling that once I get through the end of this book, I think that I'll be able to stand and look at the self that I was, the self I was in arguments with my boyfriend, and have a more objective understanding about some of the things I didn't know about money. And I think I'll be able to take that understanding and be like, oh, you know. But I'm just excited about what I'm learning because I'm learning so much stuff, not just this book, but other stuff. My mind is just like, it's like exploded with knowledge about this and that. So, yeah, I'll get there. But I'm almost there. And I can't wait to see what that's like once I like gain this understanding and stuff. I mean, I've learned so much stuff about a lot of stuff that honestly I can tell you, like, I'm learning so much stuff. It's like my mindset has shifted about a lot of things. Like, for example, I know this isn't about money, but I've been recently learning about. I'm reading this book about clutter and cleaning all that. And the funny thing is that the more I read that book, the more I start to do stuff in the book. Like I've started to like change my mindset about decluttering and cleaning and stuff to the point like I just go start doing the stuff. Like I just start like actually going and doing stuff and getting rid of things that don't serve me and all this stuff. It's just like this knowledge, like I'm actually like pulling it in and doing stuff with it, and it's like changing me and stuff. And it's so interesting. So and it's interesting too, because like I started to do stuff like my the book about cleaning or decluttering, they're talking about like you just do stuff, like as you go along, if you see stuff needs to be done, Just go ahead and take care of it. Don't wait to do it, just do it. That's like what I did yesterday. I was downstairs doing some laundry, and since I was downstairs, I'm like, you know what? I don't like how those stairs are dusty and dirty. Let me go ahead and sweep down the stairs. Let me just do this. I mean, I'm right here anyway. Let me just go ahead and take care of that. Oh, there's this box right here. Let me go ahead and take this box out and throw it away. It's been in the way. I don't want to trip over it. So that's what I'm talking about. Just kind of like I'm starting to take things that were like that I'm learning and applying these things. And it's starting to make more sense to me about how things are, basically how things like are in a way. And I don't know, I might be becoming like my mom, where like my mom would clean and all that stuff. I used to hate that I'm like, Mom, why are you doing that? What is your thing with cleaning? Like, Mom, I don't want to clean. Like, but here it is now. I'm like, oh, let me go ahead and take care of these dishes. Let me wash this stuff, sweep, whatever. Oh, let's take care of it now. But if you would ask me as a teenager, I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing this shit. Not doing that. Now I'm just like, oh, okay, let me just do it. But like in that aspect, like, the things that I'm taking in, the knowledge I'm taking in from reading and stuff, is transforming. And I gotta say, not only with money, but everything that I'm learning, like, it's amazing, you know? But right now I'm kind of done kind of flowing on money and stuff, because I'm only on page of this book, I'm only on page 38, and this just scratched the surface of this. So there's a lot. This book is what, 242 pages. By the time I get done with this, like, and I'm reading books faster and faster, like, um, to the point that like I'm probably gonna be into another book at some point. But I think it's awesome, and I'm looking forward to seeing more about what I learn about money, because I mean, I want to know more about wealth and stuff like that and how people get there. Because, hey, financially, I want to know how to get there. I want to get there and stuff. And this book actually caused me to. I bought another book. It's called The Millionaire Next Door, and that's another book I'm reading. And it's about how they follow wealthy people and how they actually got there and different things like that. So that kind of spawned me to go into that book. And so, like, I think it's that I'm on a journey or a path to learning about money and really learning things that I never learned growing up as a girl. And like learning, because, as a little girl, I just learned, like, okay, you be good. And, one day you'll get married and everything like that. And just focus on that and be good and pat me on the head. I'm like, huh? You know, but whereas my brother, he's learning, boy, you better get out there and work. Don't let me catch you doing it. He's getting that mindset and whatever. I'm like, what? But I'm happy about what I'm learning so far. I would do a whole list about everything I've learned in psychology and money, but being in chapter 18 and almost done, I'm like, I want to get all the way to the end of it though too. But it just makes me want to know more, because I want to know how to make more money and get tips on it. So, but I'm getting there. But my understanding about it, and also here's another reason why. There's another reason why I want to learn about money. So when I was a girl, growing up, one of my uncles had a lot of money, and everybody looked up to this uncle in my family because he had all these possessions and stuff, and everybody listened to him. And one of the things that the psychology of money talked about is that it's not that people are admiring or admiring my uncle and looking at him like, oh, he's got this money, he got this house and these cars and everything. That's not what it is that everybody likes him for. It's the fact that people actually, people admire him for the things that he has, because these are the things that they want. People really want the respect of having these things. That's what people really want. They want the respect, you know, and they want to know, what would it be like to have this now. And so that's really the thing, um, that people want. Um, Somebody said, never stop learning. Absolutely. I think it's important to always continue to learn, because the more you learn, the more you grow. And sometimes it can be intimidating to learn things, because sometimes when you learn things, you may find out that there's things that you didn't know. There may be things that you were not made aware of, you know, and you wish you would have had this knowledge, you know, in the past. And then now all of a sudden you come and you find this knowledge. And, you know, and sometimes you're pissed when you find out certain things. You're like, damn, if I would have known this shit before, I could have saved myself all this money all this time. Damn it. And you wish that somebody would have said something. So it all, I feel like, in a way, I feel like it all, knowledge is good, and it's good, but sometimes it can really challenge you. And it may make you aware of some of the things about maybe how you may not have been taught things that you needed to know growing up, or you may not have been given information that could help you be more informed. Sometimes, because in some families, people may not like that. They may not like for you to learn about this or learn about that, because it may go against the family. It all depends. But it's just really something to think about. And I'm learning, and I'm happy to be able to do so, because I think it just gives me a better view of the world and how the world really works, rather than how we think it does. Like in The Psychology of Money, the author talks about how we all feel like we have this understanding about how everything works, because we want to be in control of things. So, for the things, from our mindset, there's a lot of things we don't know, but we just fill in the blanks about stuff to make ourselves feel more comfortable. Because if we have to admit to ourselves that there's things that we don't know, that can make us feel uncomfortable and uncertain about things. So we just kind of fill in the blanks, so that, like, I may make assumptions, which is not always the best thing. Um, we fill in the blanks because it helps us feel like we have some control, even when we may not necessarily have it. And so, and it will be frightening to admit that we don't know this or we don't know that. Like for me, I don't know a lot about cars. I mean, I've had cars. I know some things that happen with the cars I've had, but I may not know the ins and outs of the cars. And sometimes it's the thing where we have to understand that, there may be people that have more knowledge about things than what we do in respect to other things, like cars, for example, and sometimes we have to give people credit for the knowledge that they have, and realize that it's not always, we can't look at everything from our view and think that's specifically how things work. So there's a lot that I've been learning. There's a lot, but yeah, it's been a ton of things I'm learning, but I feel glad that I'm getting the opportunity to learn this much. So I've been talking for a long time, and I want to go head off and do what I got to do for the rest of the day, because I got to do some shopping. But I do appreciate you guys for tuning in, for watching me, and I hope anything I said can be helpful to any of you. Thank you for watching, y'all. Bye.